Chapter 176. Yiqing Luo's expression didn't change, her face wasn't red and she wasn't out of breath. He easily overtook Shangguan Liuli, who was already exhausted. When a gust of fragrant wind passed by, Shangguan Liuli panted heavily, her face flushed and stared at Yiqing Luo. She couldn't swallow the anger in her heart and couldn't spit it out, it was suffocating in her chest. She wanted to speed up and overtake Yiqing Luo again to teach her a lesson. But Shangguan Liuli felt as if there was 1,000 catty boulder pressing on her legs. She couldn't lift it at all. In particular, Shangguan Liuli was still wearing the same dress when she came to the school yesterday, gorgeous and cumbersome. After running one round, she was drenched in sweat, her messy hair stuck to her face and neck, and her dress was too heavy. Shangguan Liuli took a deep breath and gritted her teeth. Her unyielding spirit was aroused by Yiqing Luo. Shangguan Liuli clenched her fist and was about to take a step to chase after Yiqing Luo. But just as she tried to lift her foot, a force suddenly hit her from behind. Shangguan Liuli immediately saw stars and staggered and fell to the ground. Lu Xiaoyu's charming laughter came into her ears. "Oh, Shangguan student, I'm so sorry, I was too tired and didn't notice you stopped. Do you want me to help you up?" A slender white hand stretched out in front of her. "You obviously did it on purpose." Shangguan Liuli was furious. "Pa," she shook off Lu Xiaoyu's hand. "You are in cahoots with her, you are in cahoots to bully me." I really didn't mean it." Lu Xiaoyu covered the back of her hand, which was red from the slap, and looked at the instructor with a wronged look. Instructor Ho's face was sullen, the iron rod in his hand stabbed the ground fiercely. "Continue to run. Who dares to stop before 5 laps are completed? Report to the low profound class now." Lu Xiaoyu looked frightened, her eyes were filled with grievance as she looked at Shangguan Liuli, bit her lips and turned to chase after Yiqing Luo. Shangguan Liuli lay on the ground and cried out loud. Beside her, the freshmen ran past her one by one. Instructor Ho narrowed his eyes and shouted coldly, "That new student, if you don't want to run, then get out here. Don't block the other student's path." When the freshmen heard this, they could not help but burst into laughter. They were exhausted from all the running, and having a good show to watch could at least refresh their spirits. Not running? Shangguan Liuli lay on the ground, feeling conflicted. She didn't have the strength to run, and she didn't have the means to get first place and win back the instructor's impression. If she didn't run, she would be assigned to the low profound class. At that time, wouldn't those people at home who wanted to see her make a fool of herself be able to make a fuss about it? Before entering the Heavenly Academy, she had already vowed in front of her father that she would definitely enter the high profound class together with her third brother. Thinking about how she would not be loved by her family in the future, Shangguan Liuli was filled with unwillingness. Biting her lower lip, she stood up and continued running. Yiqing Luo deliberately jogged slowly, waiting for Lu Xiaoyu to catch up with her. There was no trace of grievance on Lu Xiaoyu's face at this time. She snorted, "I can't stand people who are so arrogant without strength. You still want me to be careful? Aren't you afraid that she will bear a grudge against you for targeting her so openly?" "What am I afraid of? I, Lu Xiaoyu, am not afraid of anything other than having nothing to eat." Lu Xiaoyu proudly raised her head, revealing a smug smile. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up, her heart warmed. Chapter 177. By the second lap, quite a number of people had chosen to give up and fell to the ground, gasping for air. There were still more than 300 people persisting in the inner circle of the square. The 2 leaders in front were still expressionless. Those 300 students who were still persisting stared at Yiqing Luo and Lu Xiaoyu with bloodshot eyes. They were roaring in their hearts. Where did these 2 perverts come from? Couldn't they just happily be freshmen together? If it wasn't for the sweat on their faces and soaked clothes, everyone would have suspected that they were cheating. They were not even panting after running for so long. By the third lap, more than half of the students had left. There were more than 100 people left in the field. Lu Xiaoyu was also left behind, her face was slightly flushed and she was panting. Obviously, her physical strength could no longer support her to move forward at a constant speed. "Don't worry about me, you run first, I will stop myself when I can't do it anymore." Lu Xiaoyu's breathing was extremely heavy, her legs had already slowed down as she spoke. Yiqing Luo nodded slightly, quickly adjusted her breathing and began to speed up. When everyone saw Yiqing Luo speeding up, they all felt like dying. Damn. She was definitely a pervert. Was she a horse in her past life? Lu Xiaoyu's eyes revealed a strange look as she stared at Yiqing Luo's back in a daze. Could it be that Yiqing Luo had not used her full strength? Was it to match her speed? The corners of Lu Xiaoyu's mouth curled up a little, and her bright eyes were also tinged with a smile. It seemed that this trip to the Heavenly Academy was not in vain. By the fourth lap, there were only 20 to 30 people left in the field. There were quite a number of people lying on the ground, half dead and unable to get up. The instructors did not have the slightest bit of pity. They called 2 old students from the low class and carried them down. Yiqing Luo did not care how many students were following behind her. She just constantly adjusted her breathing. Her face was not red and she was not out of breath. It was just an illusion to others. In fact, by the fourth lap, Yiqing Luo's breathing had already become somewhat heavy. His legs also gradually became heavier and he was no longer as nimble as before. However, there was no such word as give up in Yiqing Luo's dictionary. Since she had chosen to run, she would definitely finish the whole course. Yiqing Luo clenched her teeth and persevered as she continued forward. It was until the 5th round was completed when Yiqing Luo slowly came to a stop. The 2 instructors stood at the finish line. Their cold faces curled into an extremely shallow arc. Congratulations, you're great. This was the first person to complete 5 laps of the square since the start of the lesson. The students of low, intermediate and high profound classes who were watching from the sidelines were all amazed. One had to know. These 2 instructors had never praised anyone since they became instructors. One by one, they craned their necks to see who this freshman who had run 5 laps and was praised by the 2 cold-faced instructors was. Yiqing Luo was neither arrogant nor rash as she gave a decent smile. Thank you for the instructor's recognition. After saying that, she nodded politely and walked to the side of the square. She began to stretch her limbs and sat down to stretch and relax her muscles. The instructor's eyes were filled with admiration. This girl had quite a lot of common sense. At this time, the 30 people in the field could not hold on any longer on the 4th lap. Some fainted and some retreated in defeat. Sparsely, there were only 3 people left, still staggering as they ran. One of them was Lu Xiaoyu. She was already drenched in sweat, her footsteps were heavy and her whole body was swaying. But she insisted on running. Chapter 178. These 3 people must be crazy. Do they really want to put their lives on the line? They don't want their lives, but we do. My overall score in the ability assessment is not bad. Even if I fail this run, I can at least get into the intermediate class. Even if I enter the high profound class, I still need to be alive. The freshmen who had fallen on the ground were all complaining. Humans were like this. Once they couldn't persevere, they would continue to say sour words, believing that their persistence was simply stupid. To put it bluntly, it was just an excuse for their cowardice. It was just to make him feel more at ease when he was a coward. Lu Xiaoyu's body was already on the verge of collapsing. She was at the front, her legs were like lead weights, step by step forward. Fortunately, Yiqing Luo reminded them that they were dressed in black today. Even if they were sweating profusely, it wouldn't reveal the color of their inner clothes. But the other female students were miserable. She was drenched in sweat, and her thin muslin clothes clung to her curvaceous figure. Of course, everyone was tired at this time and didn't have the mood to care about these. Xiaoyu, come on, just a few more steps and we'll be there. Yiqing Luo stopped her leg-stretching action and jogged slowly towards the square. Although she was still a little tired after stretching her muscles, but it wasn't as tiring as before after running 5 laps. She came to Lu Xiaoyu's side and smiled slightly. If you successfully run 5 laps, I'll treat you to roast chicken in the cafeteria tonight. Perhaps it was the word roast chicken that made Lu Xiaoyu's eyes lit up. Or perhaps it was because Yiqing Luo ran to her side after running 5 laps and continued to accompany her for another half lap. Lu Xiaoyu's exhausted and sweaty face also showed a trace of determination. One cheered in her ear, the other ran with all her might. Finally, they reached the end of the 5th lap at the same time. Lu Xiaoyu couldn't even stand steadily. Yiqing Luo supported her to stand for about half an incense's time before she let go of Lu Xiaoyu and let her do the muscle-stretching action. The second freshman to successfully run 5 laps. This batch of freshmen was really eye-catching. The 2 instructors' hearts swelled up and the students' hearts were boiling. Immediately after, thunderous applause resounded throughout the square. These two new students were absolutely worthy of this applause. Lying on the ground, Xianxia Liuli's eyes were filled with ruthless hatred as she stood among the freshmen who were unable to move. She was surrounded by a few of her good friends from outside the academy. They were all exhausted, but they still had to serve Xianxia Liuli. Fifth Miss, don't be angry. These two people are not to be trifled with. Heh. I will never swallow this down. Xianxia Liuli's eyes were vicious, like a sharp knife, cutting Yiqing Luo. Why was it that Yiqing Luo could complete 5 laps but she couldn't? If it wasn't for Yiqing Luo's provocation forcing her to use all her strength first, she would definitely be able to run 5 laps. Now the glory of these applause also belonged to her. The more he thought about it, the darker the darkness in his heart grew. Pie roast chicken. Roast chicken still counts. Lu Xiaoyu rested for a while and walked towards Yiqing Luo. As expected of a foodie, the first thing he asked was food. Yiqing Luo smiled. Of course, tonight please. I suddenly feel that all the hard work today is worth it. Lu Xiaoyu made a greedy look and licked her lips. Chapter 179. There was a silence in the square. Just a little bit more and the two of them actually collapsed. If they woke up, wouldn't they be so angry that they vomited blood? Look, not only did they not complete the running task, they almost lost half their lives. This was the first time they saw and heard of running until they fainted. Luckily we didn't insist on running, we have to fight with our lives. Just a little bit more, fate makes fools of people, fate makes fools of people. One by one the freshmen shook their heads and sighed. Although there was a sense of pity in their words, it was obvious that they were gloating over their misfortune. Instructor Ho slowly walked to the position where the instructor stood. His face was cold and his voice was cold and ruthless. Return to the team. Those freshmen lying on the ground had not even caught their breath. Their legs were so heavy that they couldn't even stand straight. When they heard the instructors shout, one by one, they wailed and flopped on the ground, refusing to get up. I'll give you a count of 10. Those freshmen who have not returned to the team, don't come back in the future. Instructor Ho directly raised a finger and said coldly. The freshman's face changed. They didn't dare to complain anymore, struggled to get up and staggered back to the team. After counting to 10, everyone obediently stood back in the team. Today's training ends here. I have seen your general strength. In the next month I will customize the training method according to each of your strength. Instructor Ho put his hands behind his back and said majestically, today is just the beginning, there are more rigorous training waiting for you in the future. For a moment the sound of the freshmen inhaling cold air came one after another. Today was already half their lives. Damn, there were more rigorous training. Wasn't that the rhythm of them dying on the training ground? Tomorrow at the same time, gather at the freshman training ground. Instructor Ho said faintly, his cold gaze swept past Yiqing Luo and paused for a moment. The students who passed today's training can report 2 hours later. Everyone looked at Yiqing Luo and Lu Xiaoyu with envious gazes. They were extremely resentful. Why didn't they insist on running the 5 laps? After Instructor Ho finished, he squinted at Instructor Chu. Instructor Chu understood and took a step forward, pointing to several directions in the crowd. You, he was referring to Yiqing Luo and Lu Xiaoyu. Both of you passed the training. Lu Xiaoyu excitedly hugged Yiqing Luo tightly as she cried out, finally we can enjoy our breakfast to our heart's content. Also, the 2 freshmen who were just a few steps away from completing 5 laps have passed the training. Once these words were spoken, some of the new students were immediately unconvinced. Why are they considered to have passed? A few steps away means a few steps away. If you haven't finished 5 laps, you haven't finished. Right. No matter if it was a step or a few steps, it was still a difference. It doesn't count as passing the training. The 2 instructors slightly frowned and scolded in a low voice with a sullen face. Am I the instructor or are you the instructor? If you have the strength, why are you still standing here feeling indignant? Why don't you have the strength to continue running? Even if they missed by half a lap, they still passed. If you have the ability to impress us, you can also pass the training. Seeing that the instructor was enraged, the freshman didn't dare to speak anymore. However, his face was filled with indignation. Although he said it, his heart refused to accept it. The instructors' faces were cold. Just as they were about to dismiss the group and let the freshmen go back, they heard a clear voice ring out. Chapter 180. Humans have unlimited potential. As long as you are willing to work hard and persevere, you will be able to stimulate it. Hard work may not necessarily lead to success, but if you don't work hard, you will never succeed. Everyone's sight followed the voice and looked over. Yiqing Luo was expressionless, her pink lips slightly pursed. Obviously her eyes were cold and emotionless, but her whole body exuded a terrifying aura. That pair of charming eyes, the corners of her eyes hooked into a narrow arc, enchanting yet covered by a layer of snow and frost. The reason why those two students can pass the training is because of their persistence and their hard work, which moved the instructor. Yiqing Luo's cold eyes swept through the crowd one by one, her lips hooked into a mocking smile. And all of you, other than being jealous of others and envious of others, have you ever persevered and worked hard to pass the training? His words caused the new students who were still clamoring to lower their heads in silence. Instructor Chu looked at Yiqing Luo. This girl had aroused his interest. When she said these words, her attitude was neither servile nor overbearing, not deliberately showing off, and everything was said in an orderly manner. No wonder old man Guiyu wanted to take her as his disciple the first time he saw this girl. He cleared his throat and gestured for everyone to focus on him again. Just as he was about to speak, a sharp and unwilling voice came from the crowd. Yiqing Luo, on what basis do you say that we did not work hard? We are so tired from running that we can't even lift our legs, and some students were carried to the medical hall. Don't tell me these people did not work hard? Shangguan Liuli couldn't stand Yiqing Luo showing off. In her eyes, Yiqing Luo's action today was deliberately going against her, deliberately trying to destroy her prestige. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched with a faint smile. How can you be sure that those people really fainted? You. Shangguan Liuli's face was livid. Pointing at Yiqing Luo, her fingers were trembling. Enough. Do you think you are not tired enough? If you're not tired enough, run another 5 laps around the square. Instructor Ho furrowed his brows and scolded angrily. The freshman cried out in pain. Tired to death. Since you know you're tired, why haven't you dismissed yet? The group of freshmen was startled for a moment before they cried out in joy and swarmed away. They were eager to return to their dormitories and have a good rest. Yiqing Luo supported Lu Xiaoyu. Go rest first, I'll treat you to roast chicken tonight. The moment Lu Xiaoyu heard about roast duck, her beautiful eyes sparkled as she wrapped her arms around Yiqing Luo's slender waist. No rest, treat me to roast chicken now. As long as there's food, I'll be full of energy. Yiqing Luo laughed lightly and pulled her to the canteen. Lu Xiaoyu really deserved to be a real foodie. When the roast chicken was placed in front of her, her whole body was full of vitality, and her eyes were only filled with food. After eating 2 roast chickens and a large plate of meat, Lu Xiaoyu burped in satisfaction. One meal cost Yiqing Luo 50 silver coins. After the meal, Lu Xiaoyu had eaten too much, so Yiqing Luo accompanied her to walk 1 round around the courtyard and received 2 sets of uniform before returning to the dormitory. As soon as he entered the dormitory, he heard a woman's laughter coming from inside as if she was saying something. Yiqing Luo pushed the door and entered. In the hall, around a mahogany square table, sat 5 gorgeously dressed women. As soon as they saw Yiqing Luo, the 5 of them looked over in unison. Chapter 181. As soon as she said this, the other 4 covered their mouths and chuckled. That's right, we are not as lucky as 7th Miss Yi. Another woman also spoke in a sarcastic tone. Shangguan Liuli reclined on a soft chair, no longer in a sorry state like she was in the square. 7th Miss Yi, if you have any trick to not be tired after running 5 laps, why don't you teach us? Yiqing Luo could hear the sarcasm from each of them. These people were probably suspecting that she and Lu Xiaoyu had cheated to be able to run 5 laps. What do you mean? Lu Xiaoyu frowned, rolled up her sleeves, pointed at the 5 women and scolded. Weren't you all shouting in the square that you couldn't run anymore and were exhausted? How do you still have the energy to gossip here? The 5 women's faces changed, slammed the table and were about to get up to fight with Lu Xiaoyu. Yiqing Luo took Lu Xiaoyu's arm and walked into the room. The 5 women looked at each other and revealed a mocking smile. When Yiqing Luo walked into the room with Lu Xiaoyu and saw everything in the room, A trace of hostility flashed across her eyes. The thin quilt she laid yesterday had been replaced by a set of colorful quilts. The clean and tidy table was also filled with pearl flowers and rouge powder. There was even a rack set up at the side, on which there were many gorgeous dresses that were decorated with beautiful flowers. Obviously, her room had been occupied by others. Lu Xiaoyu's face sank and turned to Shangguan Liuli angrily. "Don't go too far." "I'm going too far, what can you do? Hit me if you have the ability." Shangguan Liuli stood up proudly and crossed her arms over her chest. "This room, I want it." Shangguan Liuli was smart this time, taking advantage of the school's rules that students were not allowed to fight in private. No matter how angry Yiqing Luo was, she would never dare to hit her. "Go check your room." Yiqing Luo pulled the angry Lu Xiaoyu back. Only then did Lu Xiaoyu react and rush to her room. Sure enough, the things in her room were also replaced by Shangguan Liuli's things. Yiqing Luo saw Lu Xiaoyu's flushed face and glanced around the main hall. Her and Lu Xiaoyu's luggage were piled up in the corner behind the wooden cabinet. The square wooden box that Lu Xiaoyu had carefully kept with pastries had fallen to the ground. The lid had long disappeared and a few pieces of pastries were scattered on the ground. Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed slightly as a chilly ray shot out. She didn't want to waste time with Shangguan Liuli. But that did not mean that she would tolerate Shangguan Liuli's repeated provocations. Her room and Lu Xiaoyu's room were probably made by these 5 people. "Return our things back." Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a cold smile, her voice was extremely calm. "Put it back. Dream on." Shangguan Liuli slammed the table and stood up with her hands akimbo. "Let me tell you, I will take whichever room I want. Don't think that you can do whatever you want in the Heavenly Academy just because you have the instructor's liking." "Very good." Yiqing Luo laughed softly. Her laughter was extremely soft, but it was filled with an invisible pressure. She spread out her 5 fingers and a red fan appeared between her fingers. One of the ladies saw that red fan and her face suddenly turned pale. That's the glower flame fan, it's her weapon." "Yes, I've seen it during the ability assessment. This fan is very strange." Shangguan Liuli heard this and the arrogance on her face could no longer be maintained. Chapter 182. Really? Yiqing Luo smiled faintly, her brows raised slightly, her sweet but not coquettish face added a hint of coldness. That pair of charming eyes was suffused with a trace of bloodthirsty murderous intent. "Shangguan Liuli, even outside the academy, you, the 5th Miss Shangguan, are nothing in front of me." Yiqing Luo took a straight step forward as the corners of her lips maintained a sly smile which didn't look like a smile. Shangguan Liuli tensed up. She had suffered a loss in Yiqing Luo's hands previously. She immediately stood up and stood behind the other 4 women. The 4 women were also frightened by Yiqing Luo's aura as they stood rooted to the ground, staring at her in a daze. It was until Yiqing Luo approached that they let out a scream and dispersed. "Shangguan Liuli, didn't you say that this young matriarch doesn't dare to make a move? Why should I hide?" Yiqing Luo sneered. Shangguan Liuli's breathing gradually quickened as her chest heaved up and down. She was used to being pampered and had always been condescending. In Yiqing Luo's hands she had suffered a setback time and time again. She absolutely could not swallow this down. Now, she had 4 helpers, there was no need to be afraid of Yiqing Luo. Who would know that they had made a move on Yiqing Luo after walking out of this dormitory? Shangguan Liuli thought in this way as she glanced at the few women scattered by the side. These women often conspired with Shangguan Liuli outside the academy and did a lot of evil things, but to them it was just a prank. One look and they immediately understood Shangguan Liuli's meaning. The 4 women calmed down. There were 5 of them and Shangguan Liuli was a mystic profound cultivator. Yiqing Luo was only one person plus Lu Xiaoyu who looked like a waste. Afraid that they couldn't win? "Yiqing Luo, what are you so arrogant for? Do you really think that you are the young matriarch of 3 Springs sect? Your reputation in the West Continent is a waste." Shangguan Liuli's eyes were sinister. Profound qi condensed in her palm and suddenly pressed towards Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes. A burning feeling suddenly arose in her heart. Shangguan Liuli's chest was surrounded by a red glow. A scarlet-black star pattern appeared beneath her feet and 5 stars floated out. Mystic Profound Grade 5. Yiqing Luo's brows rose as her lips curled into a smirk of ridicule. Scarlet Heart Jade Mystic Profound 5th grade. No wonder Xianxia Lioli was at the Mystic Profound rank 5, but her strength was so weak. Her Jade Heart's level was too low. It was impossible to completely release the power of the Mystic Profound grade 5. Presumably, Xianxia Lioli's profound rank was rushed up with elixirs. As for Xianxia Lioli and the other 3 sisters, they only felt a powerful force enveloping them. An envious look appeared on his face and he boldly stood on Xianxia Lioli's side. Seeing Xianxia Lioli's palm striking towards her, Yiqing Luo's expression didn't change at all. Just as the palm wind was nearing her face, Yiqing Luo suddenly stretched out her hand. Pa! A loud slap resounded through the entire dormitory. He saw Yiqing Luo grabbing Xianxia Lioli's hand with one hand, while the other hand directly flung onto Xianxia Lioli's face. Yiqing Luo had used quite a bit of strength in this slap. Xianxia Lioli's delicate little face was imprinted with a clear 5-finger print. I don't have the leisure to waste time with you. Either you tuck your tail between your legs when you see me next time or I will hit you every time I see you. Chapter 183. The few ladies froze on the spot and retracted their hands that were about to strike back stiffly. They were unable to calm down the turbulent waves in their hearts. What on earth was going on? Why was Yiqing Luo able to avoid Xianxia Lioli's palm strike? Why was she able to grab Xianxia Lioli's hand so accurately? And that slap, how on earth did it land on Xianxia Lioli's face? According to the investigation, wasn't Yiqing Luo a yellow profound 9th grade cultivator? How could she be so powerful? Go. Go. There are 5 of us, are we afraid that we can't beat her? Xianxia Lioli spat out blood from the fall. She wiped the blood stains on her lips and stood up shouting sternly, whoever can hurt her after we leave the academy I will reward you with 10 gold coins. 10 gold coins. The 4 ladies' eyes lit up with excitement. As the saying goes, money makes the world go round. Although these ladies were rich young ladies, but 10 gold coins, it would take several years of salary to save up. Upon hearing this, the 4 of them looked at each other and rushed towards Yiqing Luo at the same time. Qing Luo. Lu Xiaoyu frowned and was about to rush up and join in the battle. You watch from the side. Yiqing Luo glanced at Lu Xiaoyu and curled her lips. Immediately, she leaped into the midst of the 4. These 4 ladies were able to enter the Heavenly Academy, so they had some ability. Their reaction and adaptability were not bad. When they attacked from the left and right, Yiqing Luo suddenly squatted down. The feather fan in her hand flew and knocked on their elbows. A few cries of pain came from their mouths. Yiqing Luo stuck close to them closely as her arm lifted up slightly and mercilessly slammed against their elbows. Ah! The 4 ladies' faces turned pale in pain and cold sweat oozed out of their foreheads. One by one, they shrank back and couldn't even lift their hands. How would they dare to continue fighting with Yiqing Luo? You dare to hit us in the academy, I will tell the instructor. Xianxia Lioli trembled in fear. Yiqing Luo curled her lips and turned to look at Lu Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu, did I hit anyone? Lu Xiaoyu shook her head cooperatively and blinked innocently with a wronged look. Did Qing Luo hit anyone? Why didn't I see it? Isn't it because 5th Miss Xianxia is jealous that we passed the training, so she occupies 3 rooms and wants to drive us out of the dormitory? Yiqing Luo nodded her head with a smile as her vision turned towards the 4 young ladies. Did I hit you? The 4 women opened their mouths, but no words came out. Xianxia Lioli was so infuriated that her face flushed red as she clutched her chest with one hand and pointed at Yiqing Luo with the other. Don't you dare to deny it. The wounds on our bodies are the best proof. Weren't those injuries caused by you sisters accidentally sparring with one another? The smile on Yiqing Luo's face became increasingly sweet and harmless. What's more, the one who used profound qi to attack me was you. 5th Miss Xianxia. Xianxia Lioli didn't understand what he meant, but the women around her were all smart people and they immediately understood. The reason why Yiqing Luo had not released any profound qi from the start till the end. Their profound ranks were all recorded on the wooden tablet. The wooden token could also sense the fluctuation of the Xianqi they used. If this matter were to be reported to the instructor, the wooden sign would show that it was indeed them who did it. Damn it! Yiqing Luo was simply too black-bellied. She made them suffer and they had to swallow it down. Huh. Don't tell me. You think what I said is wrong? Yiqing Luo smiled again, but her eyes became especially cold and severe. Chapter 184. You all. Shangguan Liuli's face was gloomy. She had not expected these sisters who were like biological sisters to actually side with Yiqing Luo at this moment. A wise man submits to circumstances. If 5th Miss Shangguan wants to tell the instructor about today's matter, I will naturally not haggle with you all if you all tell the instructor what you have seen. Yiqing Luo's lips curled slightly, her charming eyes were filled with a devilish glint, covered with a layer of chilliness. Those few ladies hurriedly nodded their heads. They had never used their true feelings towards Shangguan Liuli. They had been fawning on her because of her identity. They had no intention to put themselves in danger because of Shangguan Liuli. Every man for himself will be destroyed by heaven and earth. What's more, Shangguan Liuli had tricked them to offend Yiqing Luo, but she had never mentioned that although Yiqing Luo was in the yellow profound 9th grade, but her ability was so powerful. And in the end, when Shangguan Liuli asked them to go up, she hid behind them. Seeing the 4 ladies being so obedient, Yiqing Luo nodded her head in satisfaction. Now put my things and Xiao Yu's things back in the room properly. Put them back in the same place as they were before. Shangguan Liuli was so angry that her chest heaved up and down. This hurried breathing made her chest that was thrown out by Yiqing Luo even more painful. The cold sweat on her forehead rolled down one by one as she fell onto the ground powerlessly. But those 4 ladies didn't even bother to look at Shangguan Liuli. One by one, they obediently picked up the things which were originally piled up in the corner, preparing to humiliate Yiqing Luo. These rich young ladies had never done any hard work at home. To make them tidy up the room, it was like a war. Shangguan Liuli's things were thrown out one by one. Whereas Yiqing Luo led Lu Xiaoyu to sit leisurely on the chair, chatting. Aren't you afraid that these people will really complain to the instructor? Lu Xiaoyu was curious how Yiqing Luo could be so confident. Yiqing Luo's lips curled. Without evidence they wouldn't dare, otherwise they would be seeking their own death. She pursued the principle of keeping a low profile, but it didn't mean that she would allow herself to be trampled on. She had only been in the academy for 2 days, but Shangguan Liuli had been looking for trouble with her. If she didn't intimidate Shangguan Liuli and the others now, she would have a hard time in the future. It would be better to solve it now. At least for a period of time in the future she would be able to enjoy peace. Today was really satisfying. I passed the training, got the limelight, and even ate 2 big roast chickens. Now that I've seen such a good show, I have no regrets in life. Lu Xiaoyu hooked her arms around Yiqing Luo's neck and smiled with her eyes curved. Yiqing Luo stroked her head and glanced sideways at Shangguan Liuli, who was half kneeling on the ground with a face full of hatred, as a cold smile surfaced in her eyes. Life was the same. One had to be clear about who to be a good person in front of and who to be a bad person in front of. Approximately half an hour later, the 4 ladies had rearranged Yiqing Luo and Lu Xiaoyu's room neatly. Some of the things that they had broken before, they did not hesitate to go to their dormitory and replace them with their own things. Both of their rooms had been tidied up cleanly. On the contrary, the whole hall was in a mess and Shangguan Liuli's things were piled up everywhere. After the few of them tidied themselves up, they wiped off the sweat on their foreheads and stood in front of Yiqing Luo. Chapter 185. The 4 ladies nodded their heads obediently. After getting Yiqing Luo's permission, they left the dormitory one by one. No one was willing to stay here for a while longer. Looking at these people, from the initial arrogant sneer to the current servility, Yiqing Luo sighed deeply in her heart. This was indeed a strange world where the strong were respected. If the one standing here today was another person, there was a high possibility that he would be tamed by Shangguan Liuli. But now the ones who ran away with their tails between their legs were Shangguan Liuli and the rest. Because she was strong enough. Enough to contend against Shangguan Liuli and the rest. The bigger the fist was the hard truth. She had to become stronger in order to survive in this strange world for a longer period of time. Yiqing Luo then, what about her? Lu Xiaoyu pointed at Shangguan Liuli, who was still kneeling on the ground. Let her. Yiqing Luo glanced at her indifferently and shifted her gaze away. You must be exhausted today, go back to your room and rest, I will call you at night. Lu Xiaoyu didn't reject. After running 5 rounds, even if she ate the roast chicken and was fully rejuvenated, the physical fatigue was still there. After the both of them returned to their room, Shangguan Luli, who was sitting stiffly on the ground, blinked her eyes. After some time she regained her senses. The whole room was in a mess, piled up with her things. Shangguan Luli's breathing became hurried again. Covering her chest there was a burst of pain followed by a wave. She twisted her head, looking at Yiqing Luo's tightly shut door. As she looked, her hands clenched into fists, blue veins popped out, her eyes were fierce and filled with murderous intent. Absolutely. Would not let Yiqing Luo off so easily. Absolutely not. Perhaps it was the physical fatigue, or perhaps it was in her sleep. She always felt a faintly discernible sandalwood scent, lingering around her nose. Yiqing Luo's sleep was incomparably sweet. The moment she slept, it was already 7 p.m. It was Chi-Chi who used its tail to rub against Yiqing Luo's face, scratching her awake. Yiqing Luo opened her eyes, meeting with Chi-Chi's pair of pitch-black tiger eyes. She was slightly stunned and suddenly remembered the smell she smelled in her dream. She quickly carried Chi-Chi and sat up straight. He looked around but didn't see the person he was thinking of. He took a deep sniff of the air, but the elegant sandalwood scent was nowhere to be found. There was no sign of him. She remembered that in her dream, there seemed to be a pair of warm palms gently covering her face. His slender fingers brushed aside the bangs on her forehead. His warm lips pressed against her forehead. Yiqing Luo could even remember clearly that when he kissed her, the scent that seeped into her nose and the warmth of his chest. But, was all of this really just a dream? Yiqing Luo's eyelids drooped down slightly as her hands subconsciously caressed Chi-Chi's forehead. If she were to look at the copper mirror, she would discover that her current expression showed how disappointed she was. Qing Luo, I'm coming in. Outside the door, a rhythmic knocking sound was heard, followed by Lu Xiaoyu's clear and bright voice. Yiqing Luo's body shook violently as she quivered and regained her consciousness. She covered her cheeks with her hands, which were burning hot. She bit her pink lips tightly. She was extremely unfamiliar with her own reaction and felt ashamed. She actually dreamt of Zhou Xian. After waking up, she still wanted to see him? He must be crazy. It must be Zhou Xian who had cast a curse on the profound jade heart in her body. Yiqing Luo patted her face, trying hard to lower her temperature. Chapter 186. This girl was really stubborn when it came to food. Yiqing Luo smiled helplessly. All right, I'll be right there. Why is your face so red? Are you sick? Lu Xiaoyu's sharp eyes saw Yiqing Luo's red cheeks and immediately strode into the room. She stretched out her hand to grab Yiqing Luo's wrist in an attempt to feel her pulse. Yiqing Luo had already pulled her hand away and patted it lightly. I just woke up, it's just a little warm, let me freshen up. Lu Xiaoyu did not suspect anything. She stood at the side and teased Chi-Chi. After Yiqing Luo finished grooming, the temperature on her face had also dropped. The two of them walked out of the room together. The hall was still in a mess. Shangguan Liuli's things were scattered all over the floor, and Mo Yingyu, who had disappeared all this time, was sitting on a soft chair, shaking her legs. Hearing the sound of the door, Mo Yingyu turned her head. Under the slightly curled long hair, that pair of empty and soulless eyes locked onto Yiqing Luo. You must be my new roommate. My name is Lu Xiaoyu. Please take care of me in the future. It was Lu Xiaoyu's first time meeting Mo Yingyu. Mo Yingyu's Lolita attire made his face flush with cuteness. She walked up excitedly and extended her hand to Mo Yingyu. But Mo Yingyu's line of sight didn't move as she quietly stared at Yiqing Luo. She tilted her head and said word by word, "You are in trouble." Yiqing Luo raised her brows. What do you mean? Mo Yingyu turned her head, raised her hand and pointed outside the dormitory. See for yourself. I'll go. Lu Xiaoyu withdrew her hand awkwardly because of Mo Yingyu's disregard. As soon as she heard the topic, she volunteered in order to ease the tense atmosphere. Lu Xiaoyu opened the door to the dormitory and wanted to see if there was a group of people waiting to take revenge for Shangguan Liuli. But just as he opened the door, a white piece of rice paper floated down. She caught the piece of paper and her eyes were fixed on the Xian paper. Her brows immediately furrowed. What the hell is the faculty council? On what basis should I issue a challenge to Qing Luo? Letter of challenge? Interesting. She had just entered the academy and already received a letter of challenge. She really couldn't keep a low profile even if she wanted to. Yiqing Luo raised her eyebrows and took the Xian paper from Lu Xiaoyu's hands with interest. The words were written in flamboyant calligraphy. The general meaning of these few hundred words was: as a new student, Yiqing Luo was always in the limelight and her behavior was too unreasonable. Therefore, the faculty council decided to observe Yiqing Luo for half a month. The faculty council would immediately expel Yiqing Luo out of the Heavenly Academy if they were to find any excessive behavior. The faculty council is equivalent to the academy's second-in-command, a clubhouse established by the students. All of the students' questions are first submitted to the faculty council, and then the president of the faculty council will report to the teacher or the dean. Mo Yingyu's voice was flat, sweet, and emotionless. When Yiqing Luo heard that, her heart understood. The faculty council here was probably the student council of her time. After reading this letter of challenge, Yiqing Luo's lips twitched. What was wrong with this world? She had passed the training but became the limelight, and this was unreasonable? Could it be that all the new students had to give up the training midway and this was considered as obedient? And to carry out half a month of observation. Damn it, was the faculty council sick? Chapter 187. Mo Yingyu tilted her head and said in a serious tone, "So, you are in trouble." Harassment? Yiqing Luo curled her lips disapprovingly. If the faculty council wants to harass me, just send someone over. She wanted to see if this so-called faculty council really thought of themselves as the overlord of the students in the academy. Don't look down on the faculty council. Mo Yingyu's lips twitched slightly, revealing a strange smile. The president of the faculty council is a student of the class of gods. No matter how capable you are, you can't do anything to the students of the class of gods. That little girl stood up slowly. The bell on her wrist made a melodious sound. The faculty council is targeting you. Perhaps it is the intention of the Shangguan family, or perhaps it is because your existence threatens their position. She walked towards her room, her pace was steady and her voice indifferent. Being targeted by the faculty council, I'm afraid your days are not going to be easy. With that, the door to the room closed and the beautiful pink figure disappeared before their eyes. Lu Xiaoyu held Yiqing Luo's arm, her eyes filled with worry. Class of gods. Qing Luo, what should we do? The people from the class of gods are not as easy to deal with as Shangguan Lu Li. Just as Mo Yingyu said, the faculty council was targeting Yiqing Luo. It was inevitable that other students would stay away from her. Moreover, those who were unhappy with Yiqing Luo would also take the opportunity to attack her. It could be said that the faculty council's public announcement to Yiqing Luo could totally destroy a freshman. Yiqing Luo chuckled. She was indeed a freshman. But she was Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo would not be destroyed so easily. The faculty council is not the supreme existence. Above them there are still the teachers group and the director. As long as I am still a student, they will not dare to do anything to me. The faculty council could use various means to force her to leave the Heavenly Academy. Unless the faculty council had the absolute ability to make her disappear from the Heavenly Academy silently, otherwise as long as she was still in the school, they would not dare to do anything. But the secret means of the faculty council, absolutely. Lu Xiaoyu pursed her lips, her hand couldn't help but hold Yiqing Luo's arm tightly. Seeing her frightened look, Yiqing Luo curled her lips and touched her head. If anything happens to me, Master Gui, you will not stand by idly. Lu Xiaoyu was startled and a smile finally appeared on her face. That's right, how could I forget? Yiqing Luo was someone whom Master Guiyu had specially picked to protect. Moreover, it was said that Yiqing Luo was the disciple of the Overlord and had a close relationship with the Overlord. Seeing Lu Xiaoyu smile, Yiqing Luo rubbed her head and walked out of the dormitory. Let's go eat something first. Lu Xiaoyu didn't notice that when Yiqing Luo shifted her line of sight, her slender brows creased slightly and her charming eyes squinted slightly, revealing traces of biting cold intent. Let's go out and have a look. Let's see, what is this so-called faculty council? Both of them had just woken up and were taking a stroll around the academy garden. Along the way, all of the students, regardless of whether they were freshmen or seniors, looked shocked when they saw her. They pointed at her and said something to the people around them. Momentarily, Yiqing Luo's low-profile life had once again attracted the attention of others. Basically, the entire academy had heard of her name. It was destined that she would not be able to keep a low profile. Those students, one by one, began to discuss about what they had heard about Yiqing Luo. It could be said that everyone was no stranger to this name. Chapter 188. This new student who had just transferred here was the once infamous 7th young mistress. As for why this waste 7th missy could cultivate and become so powerful, everyone attributed it to the Overlord. Because with the Overlord, any miracles were a matter of course. After the profound heart jade was restored, this freshman tried to kill her 4th sister during the ability assessment, exposing her using the Dark Forces item. Then with Old Man Guiyu's escort and the Overlord's personal appearance to express his support, it was a tacit acknowledgement of their master-disciple relationship. Following that, on the first day of school she formed an enmity with one of the 4 great families, the Xianxia family. After that she was targeted by the faculty council. In the entire school, who didn't know of Yiqing Luo's name? Qing Luo. Don't you feel that their eyes are very disgusting? Lu Xiaoyu held Yiqing Luo's arm tightly. Her face was extremely ugly. She always felt like an animal being surrounded by people. The two of them had just walked out of the garden and were about to head to the canteen when a group of people walked towards them. The two of them were led by 2 decent-looking beauties, dressed in green and white uniforms. The two of them stretched out their hands and were clustered around 7 to 8 male students. From the badge on their chest, it could be seen that these 7 to 8 people were students from the High Profound class. The High Profound class was the legendary place of the Heavenly Academy. All the students were trying their best to enter the High Profound class. Therefore, when the 7 to 8 students from the High Profound class appeared together, the entire garden was boiling. Everyone looked at them with admiration, just short of rushing up and begging for a handshake and signature. Yiqing Luo? One of the beauties smiled slightly. Can you come with us? We have something to discuss with you. Yiqing Luo raised her brows slightly, sizing up the group of people in front of her with interest. She was very clear that if she didn't go, these few people would use forceful means to force her to go over. To be able to mobilize the students from the High Profound class to personally invite her. Other than the faculty council, no one else had this ability. Yiqing Luo snorted lightly, revealing a hint of ridicule between her brows. The faculty council really gave her face. Yul. Why are you looking for Qing Luo? She is a student of the academy, you have no right to bring her anywhere. Lu Xiaoyu saw that the situation was not right and immediately stood in front of Yiqing Luo. Junior, don't be afraid. I just heard that one of the freshmen ran 5 laps and even got the approval of the 2 cold-faced instructors, Instructor Chu and Instructor He. I want to talk to her. The beauty smiled elegantly, but her smile did not reach her eyes. The other beauty casually stepped forward, so casually that Lu Xiaoyu didn't even have the slightest reaction before she was pushed away by the 2 beauties. The beauties stood on the left and right, sandwiching Yiqing Luo in the middle. You guys are bullying a freshman. I'm going to tell the instructor. Lu Xiaoyu was pushed away and struggled to rush forward. Xiaoyu, it's fine. Yiqing Luo raised her eyes and looked at Lu Xiaoyu as she shook her head. Go to the cafeteria to have your meal first. I'll chat with the senior sisters and come over in a while. These 2 beauties did not come with good intentions. The High Profound class was indeed the High Profound class. Just by standing beside her, Yiqing Luo could feel a wave of pressure. Lu Xiaoyu was obviously frightened by such a scene. She could not drag Lu Xiaoyu into this. Qing Luo, they are obviously. You don't have to worry about it. Yiqing Luo smiled. Chapter 189. Lu Xiaoyu stamped her feet anxiously. Her face was full of anxiety. She twisted her fingers, watching Yiqing Luo and the others gradually getting further and further away. She clenched her fist and turned to run in the other direction. Yiqing Luo was sandwiched in the middle. The 2 beauties seemed to be intimate, but in fact, both of their palms were stuck on Yiqing Luo's back. It seemed that as long as she had the slightest resistance, they would mercilessly strike her with their palms. The group of people didn't know how long, stopped in a luxurious courtyard. To be able to build a personal independent courtyard in the academy, this place was definitely not an ordinary place. Sure enough, Yiqing Luo saw a few big words written in flamboyant calligraphy. Faculty Council. Yiqing Luo sneered. Her guess was right, these people were from the Faculty Council. The 7 high profound class male students who followed behind stopped at the entrance of the Faculty Council. After the 2 beauties brought Yiqing Luo into the Faculty Council, there were occasionally a few people from the Faculty Council passing by. When everyone saw these 2 beauties, they respectfully greeted, Vice President, 4th Miss Lu. It could be seen how high the status of these 2 beauties in the Faculty Council. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes slightly. Should she feel proud? The dignified vice president personally went to pick her up? The 2 beauties led Yiqing Luo and walked around the Faculty Council several times. Probably to make Yiqing Luo confused and unable to remember the way. However, they did not expect that Yiqing Luo had the ability to remember everything she saw. Suddenly, the vice president stopped in her tracks and looked coldly at somewhere behind her. Someone is following us. 4th Miss Lu's expression changed. She didn't expect someone to follow them for so long without a sound. Second sister, can you sense who it is? The vice president's face sank. Her 5 fingers suddenly pinched Yiqing Luo's face. Sure is not an ordinary waist, there is such a powerful guard beside you. Guard? Yiqing Luo suddenly understood. It was probably Wind who was arranged by Zhou Xian to protect her. She re-evaluated the vice president's strength in her heart. Her perceptive ability had exceeded the average person by many times, but she still couldn't sense the existence of Wind. This vice president actually discovered Wind's existence. Avoid it. The vice president quickly made a judgment, lifted Yiqing Luo up by the waist and slammed her against the wall. As for 4th young Miss Lu, she leaped up and flew in the direction indicated by the vice president. Yiqing Luo originally thought that she would be treated as a meat patty and knocked against the wall. However, the moment her body touched the wall, she was sucked in by a suction force. There was a secret passage in the wall. Yiqing Luo was carried and swayed all the way, until a ray of light appeared in front of her. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes. Inside the secret passage there were actually 7 or 8 vertical secret passages. Every secret passage was guarded by guards dressed in black. The vice president took the middle corridor. After walking for a while, he arrived at a room at the end. Just as she pushed the door open, Yiqing Luo saw Xianxia Lioli sitting by the side, beaming with delight. President, I've already invited student Yi over. The vice president put down Yiqing Luo and his voice turned gentle. The room was very simple. There were 2 bookshelves, a wooden table and a few wooden chairs. And in front of the wooden table, the person who was reading the official documents raised his head slightly when he heard the voice. That was an extremely delicate and elegant young man. He was dressed in a green and white uniform with a green belt tied around his waist. His hair was fixed by a jade crown inlaid with jade beads. That pair of eyes seemed to be plated with a layer of moisture, as if it could immerse people in his gentleness, unable to extricate themselves. Chapter 190. You are student Yiqing Luo? The man put down the brush in his hand and spoke calmly. His voice, like his appearance, was as gentle as water. He was such an elegant and handsome man, even his smile was like a spring breeze, which made one's heart feel as if it was lingering in spring water. But Yiqing Luo's cells at this moment tensed up. This man was definitely not what he looked like on the surface. His body exuded an extremely strong evil aura. It was a vicious aura that could not be concealed no matter how he put on a gentle mask. Yiqing Luo frowned, her heart raced some vigilance. What do you want to talk about? The man slightly hooked his lips, smiling elegantly. Student Yi, don't be nervous, relax. Today I invited you to the faculty council. There is no malicious intention. Just received a report from student Xianxia, so I specially look for student Yi to verify the situation. Invitation? The moment he came up, one on the left and one on the right, this was called an invitation? Yiqing Luo snorted coldly, glancing at Xianxia Luli. She secretly thought, how did Xianxia Luli get involved with the faculty council? Her vision turned and saw Xianxia Fangyi standing in the corner, with a somewhat complacent smile on his lips. She immediately understood the reason. Shangguan Fangyi was a high profound class student. Naturally he had contact with the vice president. Shangguan Fangyi was a senior student in the academy for a few years, so his relationship with the faculty council was absolutely not bad. It turned out that Shangguan Fangyi wanted to stand up for his sister. Yiqing Luo frowned, slowly rubbed her wrist. This is the way the president invites students. I have learned something. Don't be so shameless. The vice president's face sunk, raised his hand and swung it towards Yiqing Luo's face. Yiqing Luo still remembered that the vice president had pinched her jaw. This action, other than Zhou Xian, no one else could tolerate it. Who stipulated that in the faculty council in other people's territory, she had to be restrained. There was no way for her to obediently take a beating. Seeing that the vice president's hand was about to fall on Yiqing Luo's face, Yiqing Luo's figure suddenly flashed, raised her hand and was about to counterattack. Suddenly he felt a cold wind blowing in front of him. It was filled with a murderous aura. Yiqing Luo was shocked, somersaulted into the air, avoiding that profound qi. She lifted her eyes and looked in the president's direction. He retracted his sleeves, a gentle smile on his face. Let's talk things out. Don't fight. Yes, President. The vice president's cheeks were slightly red. She obediently withdrew her hand and walked to the president's side. I am the president of the faculty council, Xian Mu. Yuera's way of doing things is indeed a little too extreme, but this is also for the sake of harmony in the academy. Xian Mu's lips curled up into a smile and his fair palm rested on the wooden table. When that pair of warm eyes met with Yiqing Luo only felt a burst of coldness attacking her entire body. She couldn't help but tremble. According to student Shangguan's report, after student Shangguan entered the dormitory, you wanted to drive her out of the dormitory, and after the assessment, you threw her things in the hall and did not allow her to sleep in the room. Is this true? When Xian Mu finished asking these questions, Shangguan Luli, who was sitting by the side, covered her face and sobbed. President, you are the god in the hearts of the students. The instructor likes ye 7th Miss and will not listen to Luli's words. Luli can only seek help from you. You must help Luli. Chapter 191. The existence of the Faculty Council is to provide students with a harmonious learning environment. Xian Mu smiled brightly and slowly got up. That green and white uniform made his figure look slender and straight. The same academy uniform had a completely different effect on different people. Shangguan Fangyi was already considered as a handsome and elegant young master, but Xian Mu stood beside him. In an instant, Shangguan Fangyi's brilliance was overshadowed. Xian Mu slowly walked in front of Yiqing Luo and stood still. Squinting his eyes as if sizing up goods, he scanned Yiqing Luo from head to toe. The freshman Yiqing Luo. The power released by a yellow profound 9th grade cultivator was far beyond that of a yellow profound cultivator. Lu Shuiyu could be by his side as his vice president. Her strength was naturally not to be underestimated. But just now Yiqing Luo actually avoided Lu Shuiyu's slap and hit back instead. If it wasn't for him, this slap would have landed on Lu Shuiyu's face. Xian Mu's eyes flickered slightly. No wonder the one above pointed out to him to pay attention to Yiqing Luo. The existence of such an uncontrollable person was indeed a threat. Have you seen enough? Yiqing Luo hated this kind of scrutinizing gaze, as if she had been peeled off completely and seen into the depths of her heart. This feeling of being peeped at was very uncomfortable. No, student Yi is a rare beauty, how could I have seen enough? Xian Mu smiled warmly. These words, no matter how one listened, had a hint of ridicule. But when it came out from Xian Mu's mouth, it seemed so reasonable. This kind of gentle and refined appearance was indeed a sharp weapon for killing. And after Xian Mu finished his sentence, Lu Shuiyu, who was standing by the wooden table, her face suddenly turned extremely ugly. A pair of fierce eyes stared jealously at Yiqing Luo. Cut the crap, the faculty council can develop to this stage today. Presumably the president is also a reasonable person. Who is right and who is wrong, the president should know better than anyone else. Yiqing Luo sneered. She didn't care about Xian Mu deliberately aroused Lu Shuiyu's hostility towards her. Anyway, whether Xian Mu did this or not, Lu Shuiyu had already regarded her as an enemy. Arrogant indeed. Xian Mu narrowed his eyes. Student Yi, Don't you know that it is not good for you to be so arrogant in someone else's territory? I haven't done anything more arrogant yet. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curved upwards as a smile bloomed on her lips. That smile was peerless and magnificent. Especially that pair of bewitching eyes, which curved into a long and enchanting arc, made people even more intoxicated by her smile. Even Xianmu was slightly stunned by this smile. And it was precisely because of this daze which gave Yiqing Luo an opportunity to take advantage of. She spread her fingers and the glowing flame fan appeared on her fingertips. Without any fancy moves, Yiqing Luo leaned close to Xianmu, lifted her elbow and with a twist of her body, the feather fan was already on Xianmu's neck. A sharp knife was hidden in the feather fan. A slight movement and Xianmu's arteries would be cut. Yiqing Luo's action was so fast that no one could react. No matter how fast Xianmu's reaction was, he didn't expect Yiqing Luo to be so daring and arrogant. Yiqing Luo, how dare you hold the president hostage? Do you not want to mingle in the academy anymore? Lu Shuiyu's face was ferocious, gritting her teeth and pointing at Yiqing Luo. Chapter 192. The Faculty Council is clearer than anyone else about the matters in the academy, and the president coerced me to come here. It is nothing more than to fight for the Shangguan family's reputation. Yiqing Luo raised her brows slightly, her eyes were filled with contempt. If I hold you hostage I will die, if I don't I will still die. Since that's the case, why don't I drag you down with me? The few of them couldn't refute what she said. On the contrary, Xianmu, whose artery was pressed by the feather fan, looked as indifferent as ever. But deep in his heart he was somewhat interested in Yiqing Luo. Since student Yi is a straightforward person, I shall not say any more nonsense. Xianmu raised his head slightly, the sharp blade on the handle of the fan instantly cut his skin. A drop of blood slid down along the feather fan. Xianmu frowned in pain. You think I don't dare to make a move? Yiqing Luo's feather fan rotated and switched to the other side of Xianmu's neck. The cold fan handle floated around his neck slightly. She snorted lightly, her eyes overflowed with some seductive light. Her voice was suppressed, revealing a very charming voice. I am a madman. Once I am unhappy my hand will shake, and this shake the knife will not have eyes. Let's make a bet, see if I kill you first, then easily escape from the faculty council, or I kill you then your people catch me. When these words came out, the few people around were so angry that they almost vomited blood. Damn, this was too arrogant. Kill at the slightest disagreement. Even daring to kill the president of the faculty council. Lu Shuiyu and the rest absolutely believed that Yiqing Luo was serious in what she said. Better not. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up slightly, smiling charmingly. But this time, this smile in the eyes of the crowd, there was no ripple like before. Instead they felt that this smile came from hell. A freshman actually had such a powerful aura and oppressive force. Even if they had experienced hundreds of battles, they were also terrified. Such a freshman was allowed to grow, how terrifying would he be in the future? Especially this freshman would definitely be an enemy in the future. Xianmu's expression was calm, he looked down and met with Yiqing Luo's enchanting eyes. As their eyes met, Xianmu revealed a very shallow smile. Just like his usual gentle smile, it made people feel warm. His watery eyes seemed to be able to dispel all the coldness. Yiqing Luo's eyes sunk as her fingers tightened. Sure enough, the next moment, Xianmu's figure fell backwards, his hands raised upwards and turned into a palm wind, gently patting towards Yiqing Luo's direction. That palm strike was extremely strange. As he moved, it was impossible to determine the direction of his palm. Yiqing Luo had already made preparations the moment she saw that strange smile on his face. The minute he moved, Yiqing Luo followed closely. She agilely dodged his palm strike, and the feather fan at the tip of her fingers still stuck close to his neck. When Xianmu's palm wind became swift and fierce, aiming at Yiqing Luo's movement, he struck down with his palm. Yiqing Luo flipped over and went behind Xianmu. She lifted her leg and gave his ass a kick. Xianmu staggered a few steps and half knelt on the ground, almost falling flat on his face. Since young, Xianmu had always been a proud son of heaven, growing up in the envy and support of everyone. His amazing talent and ability to cultivate profound qi, it was destined that he had never been bullied by anyone. Xianmu wiped the blood stains on his neck, his gaze gradually turned cold. Unexpectedly, the first person to injure him was a yellow profound ninth-grade freshman. His self-esteem had suffered a serious blow. Chapter 193. A murderous look flashed across Xianmu's eyes. He wanted to kill Yiqing Luo, kill this freshman who made him lose face. Xianmu clenched his fists and profound qi burst out of his body. An oppressive pressure that made one's heart sink instantly pressed down on them. Shangguan Liuli, who was at the lower profound grade, could not withstand such pressure, and a mouthful of blood spurted out from her throat. Even Shangguan Fangyi's face had turned a little pale. Not to mention Yiqing Luo, who was only at the yellow profound grade. No matter how strong her potential was, with the protection of the divine weapon and the sacred beast, but the profound grade was still there. When Xianmu's pressure swept over, Yiqing Luo suddenly felt that there was a huge stone in her chest, pressing hard on her heart, sinking bit by bit. Her throat was filled with a fishy sweetness. She took a deep breath, her charming eyes suddenly became piercingly cold, and with a leap she headed towards the direction of Xianmu. The feather fan unfolded, rolled up a wave of air lingering around her. Although this wave of air could not help Yiqing Luo to resist the pressure released by Xianmu, but it could more or less resist some of the pressure. Student Yi, don't be too arrogant. Let me teach you the principle of there is always someone better than you. Xianmu still had this smile on his face, but between his eyes, there were two rays of piercingly cold light. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes, unable to see through Xianmu's profound jade heart. But from the pressure of the profound grade she could feel it. Xianmu was definitely a profound cultivator of the Earth profound grade. Earth profound. No wonder he was the president of the faculty council, his strength was so strong. If she had known earlier, she should not have kicked his butt, she should have directly kicked his front. Yiqing Luo held her breath, watching Xianmu's movements with vigilance, ready to cast the teleportation secret technique at any time. Originally, she did not intend to reveal her trump card too early. After all, before her strength matured, if she revealed her trump card, wouldn't the enemy be prepared to guard against her? Hiding her own unique skill was to give herself another way to save her life. But now Yiqing Luo had no other choice. Xianmu looked at Yiqing Luo with a sneer, hoping to see panic and fear on her face, begging for mercy. However, he was disappointed. There was no expression on Yiqing Luo's face, only a pair of narrow long eyes, staring sharply at him. Xianmu's eyes turned cold. How dare she look down on him? His 5 fingers suddenly spread open, and a stream of profound energy condensed in his palm. Immediately, an even more powerful aura filled the room and merged with the air. Waves of air began to distort in the air, forming layers of ripples. This power was so strong that it was suffocating. Yiqing Luo moved her feet and was about to cast her teleportation and follow the path in her memory to escape from the faculty council. Suddenly, the president's room's door was kicked open and a white figure, like lightning, speedily dashed in front of Yiqing Luo. Xianmu, do you not want to be the president anymore? How dare you touch the person I want to protect? Old man Guiyu's face was gloomy and his eyes were sharp as he stared coldly at Xianmu. He raised one hand and easily suppressed the profound qi released by Xianmu. Yiqing Luo was slightly stunned. The white robe hanging loosely on the frail little body in front of her seemed to be hanging on his body. Usually he was crazy and didn't care about anything. But at this moment he stood in front of her without hesitation to protect and defend her. Chapter 194. Pastor Guiyu? Xianmu was shocked. His attack was easily intercepted by old man Guiyu. Xianmu had been in the Heavenly Academy for such a long time and was the president of the faculty council. Nothing in the academy could escape his eyes. But only Guiyu, he could not figure it out. Guiyu's position in the academy was extremely strange. He did not teach any classes and did not make any contribution to the Heavenly Academy. All he did was drink and wander around the academy. But all the teachers kept a respectful distance from old man Guiyu. Even if they met, the masters would lower their statuses and be gentle towards old man Guiyu. In the 6 years in the academy, Xianmu had never seen Gui Yu in action. He did not know how strong Gui Yu's profound level and ability were. This time he finally experienced it personally. Did you ask for my permission before bringing the person I want to protect to the faculty council? Gui Yu grabbed Xianmu's collar and slapped him on the face. He did not give Xianmu any face. President. Lu Shuiyu was scared and ran over quickly trying to stop Gui Yu. But how could her speed be faster than Gui Yu? Only to hear a clear and crisp slap. Xianmu's face had an additional scarlet palm print. A mouthful of blood spurted out from Xianmu's mouth and splashed on Lu Shuiyu's face. Not sure if it was because Xianmu was shocked by the first slap in his life, or because he was scared by the blood on his face. Lu Shuiyu stood rooted to the ground with a face full of blood. Gui Yu released Xianmu's collar. As soon as the 5 fingers loosened, Xianmu's body was flung into the air, rolled a few times in the air and fell heavily on Shangguan Liuli. Gui Yu's strength was strong. Xianmu's impact pressed Shangguan Liuli and Shangguan Fangyi on his body and the 3 of them rolled into a ball. A few screams were heard and Lu Shuiyu suddenly regained her senses. She wiped the blood on her face with one hand and said, Master Gui Yu, the president invited student Yi over to verify some information. This is also to ensure the harmony of the students. I, your father's men, have the final say in whether they are harmonious or not. Old man Gui Yu spat and scratched his messy hair. I only know that if anyone dares to touch the person I'm protecting, I'll cripple him first. Lu Shuiyu was speechless. It was impossible to reason with old man Gui Yu. In old man Gui Yu's eyes, no matter how big the world was, it couldn't be bigger than his wishes, it couldn't beat his likes. He was the law. Lu Shuiyu suppressed the dissatisfaction in her heart. Her cold eyes swept to the side and fixed on the moment when Xianmu was pressing down on Shangguan Liuli's body. Her eyes suddenly became cold. She snorted and walked quickly towards Xianmu's direction. That damned Shangguan Liuli, she actually took the opportunity to seduce the president. Old man Gui Yu turned around and looked at Yiqing Luo from head to toe to make sure that she was not hurt at all and heaved a sigh of relief. You lass, you clearly know that the other party has bad intentions, but you still obediently follow them. I say you're smart, but you're as dumb as a pig at the critical moment. If it wasn't for your roommate who found me, you wouldn't be able to walk out of this faculty council today. Yiqing Luo smiled and took the initiative to hold old man Gui Yu's arm. Yes, thanks to Master Gui Yu's timely arrival. Old man Gui Yu got the praise and raised his head proudly. He snorted and said, Look for me if there's anything, I'll help you solve at any time. This look was exactly like an old urchin. Yiqing Luo looked towards the direction of Xianmu. Lu Shuiyu had lifted him up with one hand and pushed Shangguan Liuli hard. Chapter 195. Shangguan Liuli was implicated even though she was lying down. With such a heavy pressure from Xianmu, his internal organs were almost squeezed out. Before she could get up, she was slapped down by Lu Shuiyu again. Shangguan Liuli wanted to cry but had no tears, lying on the ground with no energy to get up. Yiqing Luo laughed softly. Master Gui Yu, you are quite good at diverting the trouble. Anyone could tell that Lu Shuiyu was in love with Xianmu to the point of being sick. Just like before, Xianmu merely praised her and Lu Shuiyu couldn't wait to kill her with her eyes. What's more, old man Gui Yu directly threw Xianmu onto Shangguan Liuli, skin-to-skin contact. Xianmu was still on top of Shangguan Liuli. Lu Shuiyu hated Shangguan Liuli to the core. Shangguan Liuli probably never dreamed that she would ask her brother to seek revenge from the president of the faculty council. Not only did she not seek revenge, she had also made a powerful enemy in the academy. What diverting trouble, I just casually threw you away. Old man Gui Yu's sharp eyes glanced at Shangguan Liuli who was lying on the ground crying out in pain with a disdainful look. While she had overestimated old man Gui Yu, Lu Shuiyu wanted to help Xianmu back to the wooden chair, but Xianmu waved his hand and stopped her. Xianmu held Lu Shuiyu's wrist tightly and with her strength, he slowly walked to the front of old man Gui Yu. Master Gui Yu, I have been busy with the academy's affairs these days and do not know much about the outside world, and did not know that student Yi is your student. Xianmu said word by word. While he was speaking, his lips moved and the muscles on his face were twitching. causing a burst of pain. Xianmu was filled with anger and his pride was being trampled on, but he still had to be polite. Today, third young Master Shangguan mentioned that fifth Miss Shangguan was bullied in the dormitory and suffered from bullying in the academy. As the president of the faculty council, my responsibility is to maintain the peace of the academy, so I invited student Yi over to verify the situation. This blame was directly thrown to Shangguan Fangyi. Shangguan Fangyi was angry, but he didn't dare to say anything. He covered his painful abdomen, grimaced in pain and didn't dare to say anything. If I knew that student Yi was your student, I definitely wouldn't dare to act rashly. Teacher, please forgive me for causing this misunderstanding. In the Heavenly Academy, the status of the masters was higher than the students. He had always believed in the principle of respecting one's teacher. Because of this, no matter how strong the students were, even if they were from the high profound class, they would still have to greet a teacher with a horizontal bar. Especially when they were up against the temperamental and mysterious Guiyu. Xianmu was able to become the president of the faculty council, so naturally he was not a fool. A wise man submits to circumstances. When it's time to be a coward, one should be a coward. Old man Guiyu sneered, if you don't know how to be the president, then let my Luo Las take over. His words stirred up tens of thousands of waves. The entire room fell into a deathly silence. Yiqing Luo was also shocked. Give the president to her? Are you sure you're not joking? Teacher Guiyu, the position of the president must be voted by all the students and teachers in the academy. I have been the president of the faculty council for 4 years, and I have done my best for the affairs of the faculty council. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Old man Guiyu dug his ears impatiently and dozed off after listening to Xianmu's long-winded speech. If you can be the president, then do a good job, if not, get lost. Chapter 196. Alright, I'll bring you back first, your roommate is worried about you. When he faced Yiqing Luo, he had a kind face, but when he turned to Xianmu, he immediately turned fierce. Since Luo Las is not interested in the position of president, I will let you continue to sit on it. After that, he pulled Yiqing Luo's arm, turned around and walked away suavely. The few people behind did not dare to step forward to stop them. After the figures of old man Guiyu and Yiqing Luo disappeared at the door, the expression on Xianmu's face suddenly changed. His pair of gentle eyes were covered with a touch of hostility. He clenched his fists and his chest violently rose and fell. The burning pain on his face declared the humiliation he had suffered today. President. Lu Shuiyu helped Xianmu back to the wooden chair and took out a handkerchief to wipe the wound on his face. Xianmu's muscles twitched in pain, the haze in his eyes deepened. The palm on the wooden table clenched into a fist, the blue veins popping out. This freshman is too arrogant. If we don't stop her now, when she grows up, I'm afraid it will be disadvantageous to the faculty council. Lu Shuiyu looked at Xianmu with distress, took out the medicine and applied it. Xianmu was very clear about this point. What the faculty council was most afraid of was a student that they could not control. Once out of control, it would easily cause trouble to the faculty council. What's more, the people above had instructed him to keep a close eye on Yiqing Luo. Now that he had failed to subdue Yiqing Luo, it would be a huge loss of face. With old man Guiyu protecting Yiqing Luo, his task would be difficult to complete. Oh yes, President, there seems to be a secret guard protecting Yiqing Luo. That guard's strength is very high. He followed all the way into the faculty council before I was alerted. Lu Shuiyu recalled the hidden guard and her heart was in her throat. Other than Xianmu, there was no one else who could escape her senses. Find someone to keep an eye on her. Xianmu's fingers scratched his cheek, his eyes darkened. This freshman's background was absolutely not simple. As they walked out of the main entrance of the faculty council, the students coming and going looked at them. Yiqing Luo and old man Guiyu walked side by side. Old man Guiyu was talking about her. The students who came and went were all very surprised. The news of Yiqing Luo being issued a statement by the faculty council to keep an eye on her for half a month had spread throughout the entire academy. Everyone knew that this new student who had just entered the academy had become famous and was being targeted by the faculty council. Moreover, not long ago Yiqing Luo was invited by the vice president to the faculty council under everyone's watchful eyes. The news spread like wildfire. The students all thought that even if Yiqing Luo returned from the faculty council, she would probably have her thorns removed and become extremely obedient. But now Yiqing Luo was actually unscathed, swaggering out of the faculty council. He was even talking and laughing with old man Guiyu. Could it be? This new student had joined hands with teacher Guiyu to give the faculty council a show of strength? Qing Luo, are you all right? Lu Xiaoyu, who had been guarding the door, anxiously walked over and pulled Yiqing Luo over, sizing her up. Thanks to you calling the teacher in time, I'm fine. Yiqing Luo shook her head and patted Lu Xiaoyu's shoulder. The two of them chatted for a while. Seeing that it was getting late and both of them were hungry, they bade farewell to old man Guiyu and went to the cafeteria. In the cafeteria, they were baptized by a wave of students' gazes. Remembering that there was a more rigorous training tomorrow morning, the two of them returned to the dormitory after their meal. The things in the dormitory hall had been tidied up. Chapter 197. She was forced to change the dormitory. Mo Yingyu's lips twitched slightly, curving into an arc. This was the first time Yiqing Luo saw a smile on this adorable face. Lu Xiaoyu blinked her eyes and laughed gloatingly. Isn't there a strict rule that no student is allowed to change dormitory? Lu Xiaoyu's question made the hatred in Shangguan Luli's eyes deepen. But Shangguan Luli still held back her anger and swallowed it down. She staggered out of the dormitory with a lot of things in her arms. When she reached the door, Shangguan Luli gritted her teeth and turned her head to glare at Yiqing Luo. You can't be arrogant for long, just you wait. After that, she strode out of the dormitory. Her lifted leg suddenly tripped over something. Ah! Shangguan Luli's body fell uncontrollably to the ground and the luggage on her flew out. Ha! A few giggles came from the door. She saw a few beautiful girls in the academy uniform standing at the door, looking at Shangguan Luli with ridicule. You guys. Shangguan Luli's eyes turned red with anger as she quickly climbed up from the ground and pointed at those girls angrily. How dare you tripped me? Are you tired of living? This kind of trick had always been used by her to trick others. Since when was it someone else's turn to trick her? Shangguan Luli, you have to remember this is the Heavenly Academy, not your Shangguan family. The girls laughed. If you want to throw a tantrum, go back to your Shangguan family. This is not a place for you to behave atrociously. Shangguan Luli's little face flushed red. Since young, when had she suffered such grievances? Ever since she came to the academy and met Yiqing Luo, she had been bullied. Yiqing Luo was simply her nemesis. The hatred and disgust towards Yiqing Luo grew deeper and deeper. Yiqing Luo's brows raised slightly as her charming eyes wandered to the few girls at the door and fixed on their badges. The one in front was a student from the high profound class. The two behind were students from the intermediate profound class. These senior students actually came to her dormitory? Those young ladies who were laughing loudly as they watched Shangguan Lili pick up the parcel on the ground and fled, noticed Yiqing Luo's line of sight and immediately turned their heads over, as a fawning smile hung on their faces. Student Yi, the vice president has already reported the matter between you and Shangguan Lioli to the academy. The academy has allowed Shangguan Lioli to change her dormitory. The girl from the high profound class was Lu Shuiyu's follower, Jean Ran. Someone from the faculty council? Yiqing Luo lifted her eyelids as she sneered at Jean Ran's fawning smile. The faculty council was really aggrieved this time. He was injured and humiliated, yet he still had to smile and serve her. A person like Xianmu, would he be willing? Yiqing Luo didn't believe it. From Xianmu's eyes, Yiqing Luo could see his ambition and strong self-esteem. He would not let her off so easily. Who's your new roommate? Lu Xiaoyu beamed with joy. She suddenly felt that the air in the dormitory had become fresh after Shangguan Lioli. That annoying woman was gone. Jean Ran smiled. That depends on the arrangement of the academy. The new roommate should be here later. Was it the arrangement of the academy or the faculty council? This needed to be investigated. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up slightly as she smiled faintly. Thank you for your concern. There's training tomorrow morning. Xiaoyu and I have to rest first, so we won't be sending you off. Jean Ran's smile stiffened. She wanted to take the opportunity to enter the dormitory and get some information from Yiqing Luo. Thinking of the task that Lu Shuiyu assigned, Jean Ran forced a smile. Student Yi, it's still early. Chapter 198. Yiqing Luo didn't give Jean Ran any face as she turned around and left. When the room door was closed, Jean Ran was still standing at the entrance of the dormitory, stunned. The two intermediate profound class girls behind her also opened their mouths wide in shock. Rumor had it that this freshman was very arrogant. After seeing her today, she was indeed arrogant. She didn't even give face to the senior from the high profound class. No wonder the vice president asked people to keep an eye on this freshman. Lu Xiaoyu's delicate face revealed a smile and made an inviting gesture. Senior sister must have worked hard to come here. Would you like to come in and have a seat? Jean Ran wanted to go in and have a seat. But staring at Yiqing Luo's tightly shut door, she had no intention to open it. Her target was Yiqing Luo. Without Yiqing Luo, it would be a waste of time to stay here. Jean Ran shook her head and led the two followers out of the dormitory. Yiqing Luo returned to her room and heard the footsteps of Jean Ran and the other two leaving. Her lips curled up into a faint cold arc. Jean Ran's purpose in coming to the dormitory, she was naturally clear. The people from the faculty council probably hated her to the core, but they couldn't do anything about it. With old man Guiyu's appearance today to protect her, the faculty council wouldn't dare to find trouble with her in the future. But the constant harassment and flattery was still a little annoying. Yiqing Luo sat by the bed and looked down at the cherry blossom pattern on her wrist. Her fingertips touched it lightly. Her consciousness entered the azure dew bracelet. Old man Song was lying leisurely on the thin mist, dressed in a white robe as if he was one with the mist. Hearing the sound, old man Song glanced sideways. Yo lass, how come you have time to visit me today? These words were too sour. No matter how slow Yiqing Luo's reaction was, she could smell the strong vinegar. Old man Song, did you miss me? Yiqing Luo raised a smile and walked under the mist, looking up at the old man in white robe. Old man Song landed lightly and stood in front of Yiqing Luo. Miss you? I don't need to wait on you, it's very comfortable, why would I miss you? Old man Song, who was in the azure dew bracelet, could see everything through Yiqing Luo's eyes. He knew clearly what happened to Yiqing Luo these days. Thinking up to this point, old man Song's expression turned cold and he heavily snorted. His white beard was blown by the wind, causing it to sway endlessly. Now there's a flesh old man who wants to take you as a disciple, why don't you agree? Yiqing Luo tilted her head. Master Guiyu? Old man Song coldly snorted. He has flesh and blood and he can even appear and save you when you are in the most danger. If you become his disciple, it won't be bad for you. Yiqing Luo finally understood the meaning behind old man Song's words. Old man Song was jealous of old man Guiyu. Old man Qing Luo was. Luo old man. Luo. Her lips curled into a smile and she stepped forward to hold old man Song's arm. Within the azure dew bracelet, old man Song had used the azure dew bracelet's spiritual energy to create a physical body. She rested her head on old man Song's shoulder. Her voice was clear and elegant. A teacher for a day, a teacher for a lifetime. From the moment I made a contract with the azure dew bracelet, in my heart, you are my only master. That was the reason why she didn't agree. In Yiqing Luo's heart, old man Song was her master. If it wasn't for old man Song, she, who had reincarnated into a different world, wouldn't have been able to get used to this kind of life in such a short amount of time. I respect Master Guiyu because he is worthy of my respect. I can't deny that I like his character, so I sent Xiaoyu to him. Chapter 199. Yiqing Luo sincerely respected old man Guiyu. Adhering to the principle of keeping the goodies within the family, she brought Yi Fengyu to old man Guiyu. Of course, as the direct descendant of the Three Springs sect, Yi Fengyu's aptitude and innate talent were definitely not bad. Especially during those days in Three Springs sect, Yiqing Luo had assigned him daily training tasks. With the assistance of Yiqing Luo's medicinal pills, his profound heart jade had also improved. Old man Guiyu cherished talent and wanted to have a close relationship with Yiqing Luo. Naturally, he agreed to accept Yi Fengyu as his disciple. As for becoming old man Guiyu's disciple, Yiqing Luo had never thought about it. You've just entered the academy and you've already learned a glib tongue. Old man Song sneered, but the expression on his face eased up. Yiqing Luo saw that old man Song's jealousy had dissipated by quite a bit, and her vision looked towards the dragon god cauldron that was standing not too far away. His lips curled into a determined smile. I will work hard to raise my alchemy level, reconstruct your physical body and return you your freedom. Old man Song felt that his heart, which had been empty for 1,000 years, actually trembled fiercely. His body was stiff and tense under the white robe. He had not expected Yiqing Luo to have such an idea. Reconstruct his body. He had never thought that he would be able to regain his freedom. However, old man Song believed it. To Yiqing Luo nothing was impossible. Miracles could be seen on Yiqing Luo. Old man Song closed his eyes and held Yiqing Luo's hand. All right, I'll wait for you. Yiqing Luo softened her voice and coaxed old man Song with a few words. Old man Song couldn't take it anymore, so he rushed Yiqing Luo to cultivate. Xianxia was something that had to be cultivated diligently in order to be able to freely circulate Xianxia during actual combat. After not cultivating for 2 days, Yiqing Luo settled her heart and sat cross-legged on the stone block. Inside the azure dew bracelet was the most suitable place for Yiqing Luo to cultivate. When she started to gather the surrounding spiritual qi, the entire space's spiritual qi started to surge towards Yiqing Luo's direction bit by bit. 1 heavenly cycle, 2 heavenly cycles. The absorbed spiritual energy revolved around his profound jade heart and slowly merged into it. Time flew by unknowingly. While Yiqing Luo was meditating, she vaguely felt that she had grasped onto something. It was an extremely subtle feeling that disappeared in a flash. Barrier. It was a barrier to advancement. Yiqing Luo was ecstatic. She was stuck at the yellow mystic 9th grade, unable to break through no matter what. Today, while he was meditating, he had managed to grab hold of this barrier. The opportunity to level up had come. The moment Yiqing Luo got excited, the spiritual qi became even more turbulent and rushed towards Yiqing Luo. An overwhelming amount of qi enveloped Yiqing Luo in it. That barrier to advancement seemed to be right in front of her, as if she could grab it with a single stretch of her hand. Just at this moment, Yiqing Luo's expression suddenly changed. With his sharp senses, he felt a murderous aura rising in the surroundings. Killing intent? Yiqing Luo sunk her profound qi into her profound jade heart and gave up on the chance to continue capturing the barrier's advancement. Her spiritual consciousness quickly returned to her body. She suddenly opened her eyes. There was no light in the pitch-black room. Outside the dormitory, there was a stream of air drifting in along with the wind. From afar, in just a few steps, he had already entered her room. Judging from his footsteps and movements, it shouldn't be his first time sneaking into a room. That unfamiliar aura was getting closer and closer. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as she could faintly see a well-built figure slowly approaching her bedside. Chapter 200. The murderous aura gradually thickened as the killer approached. The cold moonlight shone through the half-opened window. The killer raised the big knife in his hand, reflecting a cold gleam under the moonlight. At the same time, Yiqing Luo turned over and stood up. The feather fan in her hand unfolded and drew a slight wave of profound qi. However, her profound qi dissipated into thin air as it floated towards the killer. Yiqing Luo frowned, staring at the killer vigilantly, and was about to jump off the bed. A palm-sized hairy ball leaped in from the window. Its bright tiger eyes met with Yiqing Luo's. The claws that were raised in midair suddenly froze. The little body couldn't keep its balance and fell from the windowsill. Yiqing Luo didn't have time to shout out. Suddenly an elegant sandalwood scent filled her nose. A strong and powerful arm circled around Yiqing Luo's slender waist. With a thump, the killer fell to the ground, no longer breathing. Yiqing Luo's body was pressed down on the bed. A man's low and scorching breath came into her ears. "Ah Luo, did you miss me?" "Zhou Xian." Yiqing Luo put her hands on his chest. "Get out of my way." This man, why did he want to take advantage of her the moment he appeared? And this time he directly pressed her down on the bed. What was he trying to do? If someone pushed the door open at this time, damn, she couldn't wash herself clean even if she jumped into the yellow river. Zhou Xian put one arm on Yiqing Luo's shoulder. The other hand stroked the hair on her forehead. "I miss you." Miss your head? Didn't we just see each other last night? Yiqing Luo turned her head away grumpily. This was the opening line every time. As if he really missed her. Luo, you're in trouble. Dmo Xian chuckled, his body moved slightly and leaned on Yiqing Luo's side. One arm stretched out, slightly leaned to the side and pulled Yiqing Luo into his arms. Yiqing Luo's head was pillowed on the man's arm. And her whole body seemed to be buried in the man's arms. A warm touch came to her earlobe. The man's voice was low and hoarse. Just entered the hospital for 2 days, you had a conflict with your roommate and even the faculty council. Now even the killer is here, you are really all Luo. Beside her ears was the man's low and deep laughter. There was even a hint of pride in his tone. What's there to be proud of? Yiqing Luo felt that she and Dmo Xian were totally not on the same channel. Do you want me to help you settle these matters? Dmo Xian's slender fingers caressed Yiqing Luo's silky hair. I just want to study well in the academy. Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes. He'll deal with it. Then her days in the academy would not be peaceful anymore. Yiqing Luo snuggled in Dmo Xian's arms and popped her head out. Her line of sight fell onto the little furball who was lying on the bed pretending to be asleep. You brought my Chi-Chi out again. The little furry ball curled up its tail and continued to pretend to be asleep. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. So you're hiding something from me? Chi-Chi curled up even tighter. However, it could feel that its master's eyes were locked on it. Chi-Chi was still scared. She opened her eyes and blinked a few times. Yiqing Luo was hugged tightly by Dmo Xian and couldn't move at all. She could only use her eyes to interrogate. Where did you go? Chi-Chi shook its head and looked at Dmo Xian. The hand that was across her waist suddenly pinched Yiqing Luo's waist. You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.